What I'm going to show you today is how to format your website a little bit. I know you've learned a bit of HTML so far, but you probably haven't been super crazy about the look and feel of your site. So the first method that I'm going to show you is using tables to format your page. So let's start. I just opened Sublime Text 2. Let's build a new HTML page. So we'll put in all the basic tags here. So using tables is an old trick. So let's write our head and then our body. And let's close the body tag. Okay, so we have our general skeleton of an HTML page. HTML, and let's save this. And I'm going to call this I'm going to put it in my HTML, in my website folder, and I'm going to call this table demo.html. Okay, I'll put a title tag in there just for the heck of it. Table demo. Close my title tag. Alright, so let's build a table. So when you define a table, the first thing you need to do is write your table tags. And a table is comprised of rows and columns. So what I'm going to do right now is make a 2-row, 1-column table. Okay? So I'm going to define my first row by using the tr tag. Now to define a column within the row, I use my td tag. So I'm just going to put a little bit of text in there. First row. Okay, now I'm going to end my tr. I should probably add first row, first column. Now let's create our second row with 1 column by just duplicating this line. So this is our second row, first column. And then in order to see what this table looks like, inside of the table tag, I'm going to add border equals 1 and save. Now I'm going to open Safari and open my file, navigate to that table file. And this is what our table looks like. So it doesn't really look like much, but you can see this is a 2-row, 1-column table. If I wanted to add another column to my table, I would have to add another set of TDs into both rows. So let's see where my TDs are. And I'll just paste that. So this is my first row, second column, and my second row, second column. So twist. No, it's the second row, first column, and the second row, second column. And let's see what this looks like. Save, refresh. Okay, so now you see how I have a table. Sometimes you have information spanning more than 1 column or more than 1 row. So let's just say in our third row, and I'll just duplicate this. In our third row, let's say we only want to have some stuff spanning both columns. So I'll say third row, first column spanning 2. Now, if I left my code like this, there'd be some problems because I'm being inconsistent in the way that I define my table. Initially, I'm saying, okay, there's 2 columns, but then I change my mind on the third row. So what I have to do is go inside this TD and say call span equals 2. I'm spanning 2 columns here. So we'll save, and it looks like this. So you're probably wondering how this has to do with layout. Well, what we can do is we can use our table to position elements. So let's build our interface. The first row, the first row, we'll put a header graphic in there. The second row we'll use a menu bar, and the third row we'll put content in there. So we really only need one column in this particular layout. So let me get rid of all of the extra columns, and we don't need this call span. Okay. So what we're going to put in here is our header graphic, and in here we'll put a menu bar, and in here we'll put content. And let's put a center tag around the whole thing. And let's set our width of our table to be pretty big, maybe 950 pixels. So 950. So I need a header graphic to put in there. Well, let's create something. Just going to open Photoshop, and this is going to be a Yo Gabba Gabba fan club site. So my image, and this is a pretty good one here. Well, it's kind of low res, so actually it's not a very good one. Oh, this is great. Okay, so I'm going to copy this image, bring it into Photoshop. My header graphic is going to be 950, so I'll say new image 950 by, let's say 250 pixels, and paste my image in there. And I might need a little bit of resizing. I used Command T to transform my image. Okay, great image. Maybe I'll add a little bit of text up here. Move the guys down just a little bit. And maybe my image needs to be slightly bit larger. Okay, now we can move that down. And I have my text. And that's kind of a dorky typeface, so we'll change that up. That looks kind of cool. Okay, so let's save this. And I'll put it in my website folder. We'll call it JPEG, and I'll call it header. Okay, now in my code here, in the header area, I'm going to say img space src equals header.jpg. Okay, let's see how that looks. Alright, okay, so now the size of the header graphic and the fact that it's forced into a table is kind of expanding the width of the table. Now, what might kind of look cool is if I had a background behind it that was one of these colors. Maybe a really pale yellow or something. So let's just grab something like that. Maybe even lighter than the yellow on there. Maybe something like that. And remember, we would set that in our style sheet up here. Background color. Okay, let's see if that works. Alright. Now let's put our menu bar in. And you know what? I'm just going to grab my menu bar from the work that I did on my previous file from my home page here. Okay, so I'll grab all that. So you saw me build this menu bar here, the links to my different pages, and I'll paste it in here and save. And maybe I want to make sure, probably want something a little bit more bold for my links. When I lost my link to home, a href equals index.html. Okay, save that. Got my home image in there. Let's make this bold. So we'll style our A's to be something, and we'll say, let's make all of our text style font family Verdana. There we go. Okay, let's make these a little bit more bold. So we'll say anything that has an A tag, we will say text transform. What is it? I'm sorry. What is it? Font, weight, bold. So now these should be a little bit more bold. Okay, that doesn't look bad. Maybe we want to customize the colors, and maybe we want to center our menu items within this space. So what I'm going to do is inside of this TD that's holding the menu bar, say align equals center. Okay, there we go. Maybe we want to give this space its own unique color. Maybe kind of like, oh, I don't know, a purple or something. So let's grab that purple color. Maybe go a little bit darker than this. Something like that. Okay. So in the code here I can say, in this TD that holds all of these menu bars, bg color equals this purple color. Alright. Still not the prettiest thing in the whole world, but maybe we want the height to be a little bit bigger. So we'll set the height of this TD maybe 20 pixels. Well, that didn't work. What did I do wrong? Let's try 40, see if it makes a difference. There we go. Now, it probably already was less than 20, so let's put our content in. From our previous example, we had this lorem ipsum, so I will grab that and paste it into the cell that holds my third column, my third row. And save. So that's not so horrible. We might want to add some padding over to the left here to bring it in. The easiest way to do that is to put it inside of another table and set the padding to be like 4 or 6. So, okay, here we are inside of our last row. So I'm going to make another table inside of this table, make another TR, make another TD, and then after all my content, I'm going to put another table, and close my table, close the TD, close the TR, and close the table. So what I'm doing actually is putting a table inside of this table cell that's a 1 row, 1 column table, but I'm going to make the cell padding like 10. And what that does is it brings everything in. Now if we turn our border off to our table, we get something like that. Actually, that content area, it might be nice if we set it to be white. So this is the last row where our content is, and I'm going to say BG color is equal to, and so not bad. It's looking more like a website. So that's how you would format your content in a table. Another common layout, so let me just save this as table demo. Well, it's saved. I'm going to save it, do a save as, and I'm going to say table demo 2. And we are going to change the layout a little bit so that it is a 2-column layout. So what I'm going to do is this first row, it's going to be 2 columns. So this first column is going to have to, this first TD is going to have to span 2 columns. Okay? My next row is going to have 2 columns in it. So here's our first row. Here's our first column. And what I'm going to do here is, again, I want to get rid of this height setting here, is I'm going to take all of my links, and instead of these pipe characters, I'm going to make them breaks between each one of them. Okay. Now I want to close my column because the first column is going to be the menu bar, but the second column is going to be my content. So let me get rid of the end of my row, and now we're going to start the next column. So we're going to have 2 sets of TDs inside of this TR. Here's my second column, and I have the table inside just to give it some padding, and I'm going to close my column and close my row. Okay, I'm going to save this, and remember we are looking for table demo 2, and now it looks a little bit different. We have a 2-column layout. A couple of problems. Of course, we want our menu items to be higher up in the space. So for both of these TDs, we want to make sure that the content is always vertically aligned at the top. So what we can do is inside these TDs, and now we don't want a center horizontal alignment, so let me get rid of that, and you can see what that did. Made it left aligned. We want to vertically align to the top and do the same thing right here. That just ensures that it doesn't matter how long our content is on either side, both will be aligned at the top. Now if we want to force the width of this column to be a little bit wider, we can do that. We just need to set it right here. We'll say maybe width is equal to 200. And it's a little bit wider. Again, I could put a table inside of this to give it some padding. So inside of this TD, I'm going to say table, TD, TR, TD, and then after my content, close my TD, close my TR, close my table, and give it a cell padding of 10. And then now we have a little bit of padding. We might want to add some space between these links. So we'll style our links up here. Line, height. Let's just try 20 pixels. See how that looks. And it spreaded it out a little bit. We want to do a little bit more dramatic. Change that to 30. And it looks more like a website. So I'm going to post both of these pages up on my website so you can view the source. If you want to see the source, you just pull up the web page and you go to View, and then some browsers you can do that. Show page source in Safari is the way to get to the HTML code. So you can just copy and paste and play with that. So that is building a simple website using tables to help you structure it. And like I said, you can go to both of these pages and download the code.